Amanda, welcome to Hello Mama.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to have you. I was thinking, I can't really remember exactly when we met, but I think we met at her HQ at an event at her HQ a long time ago, pre-COVID. Obviously pre-COVID because they shut down during COVID.
Yes.
So I think that was the one time that we met in person because I think there's a picture that they took. I need to look for it. And it was a group of us. And then they posted it on their social media, and I think that's where we met.
Pre-COVID is a dead zone for me. I have no recollection of anything that occurred.
Yeah, it's a bit of a blur. It's like, and life is pre-COVID and post-COVID. And
Yes, but I feel like I've been following you for a long time.
Yeah.
I feel like I know you.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of do that with a lot of people.
We've been Instagram friends, talking back and forth.
I'm like, you're my friend, right?
Yeah.
We just don't hang out regularly.
Yeah. Well, maybe we should change that.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, I'm really excited to have you. I initially reached out to you because you're a lawyer and you share a lot of valuable opinions on social media. And I think that what I really have appreciated is when you share things, not only are you sharing your opinion, but you're sharing like resources and sources that are very reliable. And I think that that's been important in this day and age because there's so much misinformation going on. Even I have fallen for a few things. Like AI now is creating like news articles and stuff that you really have to be really, really conscious of the stuff that you're consuming. So that was one of the reasons why. Also, you're a mom.
Yes.
And I also want to talk about that. So we'll kind of, and you're a boy mom just like me. I'm a when I say recent, he's 19 months old. So almost 2 years, but still learning, entering the terrible 2 phase. So I kind of want to touch a little bit. Let's start with who you are, your background, and then we'll dive into motherhood and then into other fun stuff.
Yes, I've been a lawyer for almost 20 years. I know it feels weird to even say that. But went to college, got a degree in political science. I'm not a political scientist, to be clear, but I've been following politics forever, right? And I pay attention to things probably a lot closer than most people. I know I follow it closer than a lot of the moms that I'm around, at least in my community, in my town. I would say I'm extremely online, I guess is the term for it. And I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. At this point, it's pretty rough. But I pay attention to things. And on my Instagram, which is private, because I work for a company. And so I am kind of a little bit more locked down with my account. But feel free to request a follow and I will probably add you. But I like to talk about looking at current events and news through a legal lens. So I try to really control my media diet. And do you understand what I mean when I say media diet?
Yeah, totally.
I feel like that's a new phrase that we didn't really have to talk about all the time. But I really try to rely on even just Reuters, Associated Press, and then just historic legacy newspapers. I look at their news. I try to parse, through kind of how they're covering topics. I think having media literacy is absolutely huge, and we don't really have it, right?
Yeah.
And we've kind of turned from watching things like CNN, MSNBC, those kind of news channels that they have very low viewership at this point, to going to personalities online.
Yeah.
And there's a whole host of them. I'm not going to name all the names, but there's so many, and their opinion, editorial coverage, right? They're giving their take. It's their background. It's their, sponsorship and dollars that go into, their platform. And so it's absolutely colored by their perspective. And I'm always a little bit cynical about that and a little bit skeptical. So obviously my perspective on things is also colored by my experience. But I try to always include links for articles, and I'll direct people towards, this is what's happening right now. Typically it relates to Supreme Court, usually legal related. I try not to go outside my zones of, comprehension. But so that's my account. And I feel very intimidated on this podcast because you interview doctors and these professionals that this is all
you are
they do.
A professional.
I am a professional, but I do think there's other people out there that are, political scientists and lawyers that study constitutional law that are that's how I get my information
Yeah.
is from them, because they have such a critical and fundamental understanding, and it's what they do every day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point about media literacy. It's not just I mean, of course, there's so many people out there that have platforms now. So they have podcasts, they are influencers, or they just have like their channels on Instagram or TikTok, whatever. But it's also understanding how our algorithms work
yeah.
too, which is also very tricky and also depends on obviously the platform that you're using. I've noticed, especially on TikTok, how sensitive TikTok is. If I watch, for example, I don't know why this happened, but this was like 2 nights ago, not related to politics.
Yeah.
I woke up probably at 3 in the morning, and which happens a lot lately after I had a baby. I just wake up at random times. Anyway,
Yeah.
so I started scrolling, and I found this video on TikTok about it's like this party bus in Brazil, and all these weird characters jump out of it and dance on the street. And I watched it probably, I kid you not, 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And now my algorithm is all about
Like,
these
that's all-
videos.
this is what you
I didn't
care
even
about.
like it. I didn't even comment on it. I didn't save it, nothing. It was
Yeah.
just because I watched it for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
When I say extended, 10 seconds, maybe 15. And that is how every single platform operates. Maybe their formulas are a little bit different,
Yeah.
but it's just so easy to get caught up in, you like one post, and then automatically things are just gonna, the information that you're being fed is now like, it's like the algorithm is like, oh,
Yeah.
you like this, so I'm gonna feed you this.
Yeah.
And people that don't know or don't understand or don't know how to go back to the sources that are
Yeah.
reliable, it's easy for them to just fall for this stuff.
Yeah,
And
it
that's what
seems
gets so
true.
frustrating.
It confirms their
Bias.
biases. This is my kind of advice for everybody. This is just like my first bit of advice is when you're looking at a post and it's kind of outrageous and it kind of has a visceral effect on you. Number one, ask yourself, is this confirming a bias I already have? Number two, is this true? And can I figure out if this is true?
Yeah.
You always have to go to the second point. We're staying at the first point a lot of the times because
Most
we're
of the times, yeah.
tired. We just got home from work. We're just flipping through and we're like, I'm just going to share this. This bothers me. I'm just going to share it and talk about it. And maybe we're not really digging deep into, is this from a random Substack with someone who's not even a journalist? Is this from something just so out there that has no connection to reality, but it's spreading like wildfire because it gets people excited. It produces this huge, response. And that's the stuff that's hot on these social media sites.
Yeah.
I'm really lucky to have spent a majority of my life where my interests were not determined algorithmically. Like, I feel grateful. I'm in my 40s. I'm 42 years old. And so I've spent a good amount of my life developing my own understanding of how things work because I researched it and I tried to figure out how things are. And even my own interest in art and movies and all of that wasn't predetermined by what was, loaded up through TikTok or Instagram or whichever site that, you're focusing on. I can't even do TikTok. I can't even do it. I feel like I'll get lost for days.
Yeah, you will.
And I
will.
I think I'd enjoy it too much. So that's why I do find myself on Instagram for far too long scrolling. So
yeah, it's easy to fall into that,
it
especially.
happens to everybody.
Yeah, and again, at night when I'm like, I can't sleep. Like, what do? You just doom scroll for maybe an hour until you fall back asleep.
It's not healthy, and
no.
I honestly think it's it adds to our isolation. You start thinking this is just happening to me. I'm the only one that thinks this is wild. These huge fundamental changes of our government and other things, which are just happening. There's no way around it. They're happening. A lot of us feel as though I'm the only one that realizes this isn't something I voted for. This isn't a policy I was really here for.
Right.
You're not alone. There's tens of millions of people that are alone with the light, in the dark, looking at these stories and thinking, wow,
this is insane.
This is not for me. This is not what I wanted to happen at all.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I think we can dive into a little bit of motherhood and the challenges that all of this can present. You mentioned a little bit of isolation, and actually yesterday with one of my coworkers, she was telling me that she got this Meta, it's these glasses that are, what are they called? Meta something. I can't remember the name.
They're just the Wayfarers, but they're cameras.
Yeah. And it's virtual reality. And she's like, I can understand. And she's older. She's my age. But she's really into video games and stuff. But she has little kids. And she's like, this is a lot of fun because I can just set myself in a beach and feel like I'm in a beach. But this is scary because this is now going to create potentially, not that everybody's going to have access to this, but potentially is going to create like a level of isolation that we're already experimenting and experiencing now. And that to me as a mom, as a boy mom, is so terrifying because the last thing I want is for him to just be a recluse. I want him
Yeah.
to experience the world. I want him to be a critical thinker. And where we are now is not conducive
Yeah.
to that kind of life. And it's terrifying. And I don't know, like your kids are a little bit older.
Yes, I have a 9 and 11-year-old.
Okay.
They're also extremely online. It's a constant battle with the screens, right? They have a way of communicating with their friends. It's honestly how they have like a telephone because they don't have cell phones. And so they communicate through their tablets and text message with their friends or maybe call them. And so I don't want to take that away from them. I
Yeah.
think phone calls are great.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. That's how we used to do, like
right?
the house phone, the landline. We
That's
just call our friends.
fine.
Yeah.
And there's lovely communications that they're having, and I don't want them to feel left out, right? But it is, we have the VR because they're old enough to do VR, and my son has created a YouTube account that has 20,000 subscribers.
What?
Yes.
Oh my
My
God.
9-year-old.
Wow.
And so, I mean, that's who you should be interviewing right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, he is learning graphic design and creating like storytelling and having a lot of fun with it. And so we encourage it, even though we know, and obviously he's not showing his face. It's in-game, recordings. And so we feel like that's safer. He's not a 9-year-old just talking on YouTube. But it's a push and pull of, I want you to learn this technology because in your future you will be continuing to use this technology. And then also this is probably having an emotional effect on you. I didn't read that Jonathan Chait book, it was The Anxious Child.
Oh yeah, I've heard about it. I haven't read it, but I've heard.
I'm sure I'm
I think didn't he
the
do
title.
well, I'm sure he's done several podcasts,
Yes.
but yeah.
I
think
don't
I
know
listened
if
to
I
one.
fully subscribe to him and what he's saying. I get it though, that there's a moodiness that takes over if they spend too much time on their tablets. We typically kind of take those away and say, let's go do something. Let's go outside. Let's find a way to move our bodies. You're not going to lay in bed and just, hold the tablet up to your face for 9 to 10 hours. But that's what they crave.
Yeah.
That's what they want. And so, no, and I am by no means an expert on parenting. So I think I could use some lessons from people as well on how to manage that. So, yeah, I've not found a solution yet, but I'm working on it and I'm trying to stay up to date on it. There's so many parenting books, and I love the ones that are focused on boys.
Yeah.
So
I think we need to make sure that we're raising, and I mean, I don't think anybody's an expert on parenthood, to be honest. I think we all, there's been this thing, I think on TikTok, where people are like, we're all living life for the first time. And it's so true. And I think that thought has helped me kind of like give myself a little grace as a mom. Like, we're all trying this for the first time. Even the mom that has had 5 kids, she's being a mom of 5 kids for the first time in her life. And I think that if we just allow ourselves to give grace, like, I'm not against tablets. Obviously, at first I was like, my kid is never going to watch cartoons. Now he watches Spidey and Bluey all the time.
And Bluey's great.
Bluey's great. I love it. We were watching it this morning. I'm like, this is actually really funny, and it's fun, and the dad jokes are hilarious. Like,
They're
it's
very
really
relatable parents.
very relatable parents.
Yeah.
So I actually like Bluey more than Spidey, but he loves Spidey, and it helps. Sometimes we just need a 15-minute break to just do something around the house or just like take a breather. So I'm not against it anymore. And right now I'm like, I'm not going to be a tablet mom. I'm sure I will in a couple years. Sometimes you're going to need it. Yeah. He's getting to that age where going out to a restaurant, before he could just sit there and be chill, not anymore. I need to keep him entertained.
And we definitely don't I know a lot of people that bring tablets to the restaurants. We don't do that because we want them to be able to socialize and understand that, like, you're not just going to eat and look at a tablet, even though at home they want to do that all the time. I'm like, close it down. We're eating now. Hey, close it down. We're really trying to teach them. And my youngest is going into middle school. And so I'm like, do you understand what I'm teaching you is how to thrive as an adult, how to socialize, how to make people comfortable around you as a man, how to be conscientious of other people's feelings. Like, I'm teaching you these fundamental things that we all need as humans. As they grow older and older, they start recognizing, okay, it's not really good to just stay quiet all the time and not talk to other people and, not let my booths guide how I treat everybody else. Like, he's still kind of discovering who he is. And so that's been a huge adjustment for me. And you face things about yourself too when you're raising them.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, these kids are in a lot of ways very similar to you. So it's a lot of, I I should probably go to therapy about this thing that I'm dealing with my oldest or things like
Yeah.
that. So,
Yeah, I'm currently in therapy. I go every
I
2
definitely am
weeks.
too.
I love therapy. And I think one of the biggest things that I have mentioned in my therapy sessions is I want to make sure that I'm the healthiest mom for him as I can
Yeah.
be. I'm sure I'm going to fuck up.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm going to create some level of trauma. I just don't want it to be the level of trauma that he needs to go get help. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I don't want it to be so detrimental to his adulthood that he's
Yeah.
like, oh, I have to go back and revisit this. So there's no guarantees. We all do our best, but therapy is definitely much needed. I love it.
Yeah.
I think everybody should go,
Yeah.
regardless if have had like major or minimal trauma. It doesn't matter. But
And you can always tell who's gone
yeah,
versus who hasn't yet.
yeah,
It's like, oh, kind of an unexamined life going on over there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you definitely notice when someone hasn't really done kind of work on, these are defensive mechanisms I have.
Right.
I've really got to keep an eye on them.
Mm-hmm.
When I watch other people fight, I'm like, oh, I do that sometimes when my husband, I get defensive that way, or I argue like a lawyer. He hates that I argue like a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, can we just like talk like regular style? Like
Yeah.
he just, I'm like, I have evidence. I'm going to submit, and you need to respond to my highly subjective evidence that
Yeah.
I put on your, plate.
Mhm.
So, yeah, it's fun to be married to me.
Hey, I'm sure he's very, very knowledgeable at this point.
Yeah, no, it's great, and I married a very understanding, loving.
I think that's the
woman, so-
key. It's just really finding that partner that just understands you and accepts you for who you are. And yeah, there's going to be conflict for sure, but knowing how to navigate those conflicts. And that's when you start realizing therapy, whether it's needed at the time or if someone has already gone to therapy, is how conflict is handled. I'm still learning. This is the first time I've been in a serious relationship in a very, very long time. So on top of learning how to be a mom, learning how to be in a relationship has been challenging. And just that's why I go to therapy too, to be the best version I can and to like not react to certain things, not take things so personal, because I'm used to being alone,
Yeah.
and so it's really hard to like now have someone else give an opinion about the way that you're acting or just having to have someone else in mind when you're making a decision in your life.
Absolutely.
That's
I
so-
am very spoiled. I just celebrated my 17th wedding anniversary. But
Congratulations.
I've been with my husband. Thank you. I've been with my husband for 25 years. We're high school sweethearts. We grew up together.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of our growth has been, he saw it. He's seen kind of the changes I've undergone in him as well. So we speak the same language in ways that I know people that have like, oh, I've been together 5 years, 10 years. They haven't quite mastered yet.
Mm-hmm.
It's very nice. It's
Yeah.
not me bragging, but it's just very nice to be like, you understand me.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm going through right now. You understand this is kind of a triggering thing for me. I need to kind of step back, cool off. I think that's absolutely essential as parents because my childhood does not resemble my husband's.
Same.
Which is completely different, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so trying to understand them from the perspective, the lens of they weren't really raised, to think or talk about these things or openly argue. That's something that was new for us is my parents openly argued in front of me, which from time to time, maybe I didn't want to hear them openly argue, but it was good that's a healthy thing to do.
Yeah.
You don't have to hide everything from your kids, right? And my husband that wasn't the way he grew up. His parents, if they had any kind of debating or arguing or anything, it was behind closed doors. So he lived under this belief that parents don't fight. They don't argue at all.
I think that's a really normal thing, like a way to grow up. Like in my family, I don't have childhood memories of my parents arguing much.
Yeah.
And maybe the 2 fights that I can think of were pretty big fights, but it was just twice that it happened. So it wasn't like a recurring thing. And after they separated and as time went by, I realized how much stuff they hid from me. And realizing those things in your early 20s, it shifts your perspective so much and it shifts the way that you operate in life because you're like, wait, all of this was fake? Not fake. And it wasn't fake. It was just they were doing it as a protective measure.
Or maybe they were swallowing it up.
Maybe.
And bottling it.
Yeah.
Because that may have been the way to do things back then. That was the way their parents did it.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely not screaming at my husband in front of my
Oh,
children.
no, I
I'm
know.
traumatizing them. But if we debate on something, we're not like, let's go run over here so the kids don't hear. Unless it's about them and a particular issue with them, we're not going to talk about them in front of them. But I think that it's healthy. These I'm going through something. We need to talk through it. I disagree in a huge way. These are so healthy.
Yeah, I think that healthy debates and conflict is always necessary. I mean, you go through it in life in
Yeah.
every aspect, whether
Yeah.
it's in a relationship or at work, like these things happen. So I think that like not hiding it is so important, especially to model our kids. It's okay to disagree. It's okay to have a different opinion, and it's okay
Yeah.
to be with someone who doesn't agree with you.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's one thing that I've also learned in this relationship is I think we agree on most things. I would say 85% of stuff, but there's this 15% of things that we don't agree with politically
Yeah.
too. He voted for someone that I would not have voted for,
Okay.
but he is not the extreme of that side
Yeah.
of the political party, if you know what I mean. I think it's pretty obvious.
Fascinating.
He's not MAGA.
We have to talk about that later.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Well, we can talk about it now, and then we can dive into your books because I really want to hear about that.
We do want to talk about kind of like how if you're of that party that right now it's doom scrolling for you.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're excited about what's going on right now, I think my advice maybe isn't going to hit for you. But if you're struggling with it and you're confused and you're not politically engaged, I do have a ton of advice,
Okay.
which is kind of what I kept my platform for.
Yeah.
Like when I joined in-house, when I stopped being a lawyer for small businesses, I was like, do people even want to hear from me? But I thought, I really care about voter access. I really care about being politically engaged. However that looks for you, that matters so much to me. And that has always felt beneficial to me to understand what's going on, how my vote affected, XYZ things happening. So I definitely want to talk about it.
Well, let's do it. So, I mean, I can kind of like share a little bit about like my experience so far with my partner and then dive into like, and how my mind has shifted a little bit as far as where I was, like my previous podcast, Date and Debate. I think no, there's definitely some episodes that are really passionate over certain topics. So I had a couple episodes around like BLM. I had one episode called Dear White People. I interviewed 3 Black men and kind of like speaking about their experience. And they were so eye-opening and so helpful to kind of like understand the significance and the importance of where we are now and how we as, whether I'm Hispanic, but I'm white passing, obviously, like how we can impact their lives and make it better and how can I be an ally. And I stand by all those things. At the same time, it's a friend of mine actually made fun of me the other day. She's like, I can't believe that you are like the most liberal person. You ended up in a family that's part of the family, not all of the family, but part of his family is much the opposite of who I am. And I have found it to be, in a lot of ways, really fascinating. And it has forced me to understand that sometimes motives and values, we can probably be, if you really strip everything, I think we're on the same page.
There's good overlap.
Yes. But, my father-in-law, he's I think he's in his late 70s. He's an oil and gas guy. He's done it his entire life.
His industry influences politics.
1,000%.
Yeah.
And who am I to tell him to just piss off and forget about what he's worked so hard for the past 3 or 4 decades? He's built a life for his family. He has built a great life for himself. He is setting his kids up for success for when he's no longer here. I have to respect that, and I can't just, X him out because of his political belief. Because like you said, his industry, not only has it been a huge influence on that political party, but that party has also looked out for him his whole life in a sense. Yeah. So it's a little bit, I don't know if it's like I'm not conflicted. It's just more like I need to be more understanding.
Yeah.
And I think that I want, as much as I disagree with Donald Trump and with MAGA, there are people on that side that aren't necessarily co-signing to everything he's doing, but they have this really strong...
They have certain issues.
They have certain issues and values that are really important to them.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's kind of like a little bit of my spiel, but I've had to kind of like learn and kind of adapt to.
My in-laws do not share my politics in any way, shape, or form. And my mom, for most of her life, her adult life, voted Republican. And I worked on her extensively to explain why her platform of values wasn't reflected on with the current administration, And so her vote did shift in this past election based off of the values platform shifting. Yeah. So, and my dad was a union guy, and so he voted for both parties. He sometimes voted for the Democratic candidate. He sometimes voted for the Republican because he had, competing priorities, honestly, with his life. So, it's, I've always been a Democrat, but I understand where people are coming from, and they have this lifelong affiliation.
Right.
And it's become definitely polarized and tribalized and all of that. And so I think that's incredibly unappealing for the politically disengaged. And so I think I'm looking out for the people who are like, I don't even know where to start. And I just
Yeah.
don't feel very smart about how the government works.
Yeah.
And it seems kind of bad, but I don't know. Maybe this is business as usual. Maybe this is fine.
Yeah.
I am really looking out for those people and wanting to help them find a way in based off maybe like their interest or something that they're so passionate about, whether it's like being a mother. There's all these things about being a mom that are affected by politics, maternity leave, lactation policies, like literally like intermittent leave afterwards,
Yeah.
the right to go pick up your kids in the event of them getting sick, having kind of employment rights tied to that. I think being a mother is inherently political. It's just not something we really want to talk about because I mean, I grew up being told you don't talk about politics.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah, it's impolite, and that's all I do now.
Yeah.
So I don't do it at work. Obviously, that's a different environment, and we're here to be professionals and just do our job. But it touches us everywhere, right? Politics is in the water we drink, in the park we visit,
Yeah.
and the groceries we pick up every weekend. So
Totally. Yeah, I think the motherhood piece is so important, especially after I became a mom. And I'm in a really fortunate place in my job where I can go pick up my son if I need to, and I can stay home with him. One, I work from home.
yeah,
But I work, but if he's sick,
yeah,
I don't have a problem staying
Yeah.
at home with him. I also understand that people on my team who are mothers don't have that same luxury. And it's so frustrating to work. I manage call centers essentially.
okay.
And so the schedules are obviously strict, but I struggle with having to enforce those rules and also be a mom and be like, I get it.
Yeah,
And then it's like, yeah, you can go get your kid, but you only have 2 hours of sick time.
yeah.
I hate to have to break those news. And to me, that's just
Yeah.
the most inhumane, one of the most inhumane things that we can do to mothers. It's like we
very
force them.
radicalizing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like we force them to go back to work
Yeah.
and look, I work for a pretty generous company. 16 weeks of maternity leave in this country is generous.
Yeah.
I don't think it's generous if we really look
Yeah.
at how long we need to be with our babies, but
Yeah.
comparatively, it's very generous. 100% paid, never sacrificed a dime, or my insurance, nothing. I didn't have to
Yeah.
go on FMLA. But it has made me obviously. I've leaned more into my Democratic side because I know the Democratic Party is more inclined to support.
It's more part of the platform.
Yes.
Is employee rights,
Mhm.
labor rights.
Yes.
The Republican side has just a different view on labor.
Yeah.
And
Well, now they want to. I don't know if this is true, and you can correct me, but now they want to make 14-year-olds make it legal for 14-year-olds to work.
There's been a change in several states. I'm not sure what the status is for Texas, but they're looking at having, there's going to be some vacancy with workers. And so in certain states, they're saying, hey, 14-year-olds want to work. Why don't we let them work overnight? These kind of very draconian, going back in time kind of laws that would permit these kids to work excess hours. I don't know about you growing up. I had a job. My first job was at Chili's. And I was a hostess, but I only worked on, after school for like 4 or 5 hours. And even that felt like a really long time.
Yeah.
I felt like I was going to bed very late after those shifts. But labor protection as a whole has really firmly been under the Democratic Party for decades. And yeah, so child labor is one of those new and up-and-coming things. I don't know how they're going to sell it to the electorate that like, hey, what a great idea. Your freshman, your 8th grader would really benefit from, extended hours when they really should be in school
And they
and
should
are
be
doing
sleeping.
sports or, living their lives. Yeah, I think the people that are writing up these laws at the state level are looking for ways to supplement labor where they're finding it very difficult to maintain workers for, a wide variety of reasons.
Yeah. Which is crazy.
It feels like a very stark turn from
Yeah.
where we've been with more enhanced worker protections.
Yeah, and I think that that's been one of the things that I have realized, and I think a lot of us have, is that now this, specifically with this administration this time around, feels like they just want to go back
Right.
50, 60 years. And it feels so frustrating that no one's like yelling, like, no, how can we stop this? Because all of this is so insane. But then it's like, am I reading the right things? Am I getting the
Right.
information from the right sources? is this really happening? And sometimes you're like, this can't happen. Like,
Right.
you're like, there's
And if
no
you
way.
if
This is the
you're
United States.
And if you've tapped out of the news, which I don't recommend doing, I know it feels better to tap out of the news. Your brain just enjoys that holiday.
Yeah.
But if you tap out of it and then tap back in, you're like, I don't recognize what's happening right now. So, I mean, obviously just try to pace yourself to keep up with what's happening. But these are really fundamental changes to how federal agencies exist. Um, the Republican Party has really firm views on what they think the government should do, and it's changed over the decades to really be like not as much, right? Like maybe everybody just takes care of themselves, rugged individualism, rather than having social services, rather than having Medicaid, having these things for people that don't have the income to be able to fully support themselves. I think it's kind of just like pull yourself up by the bootstraps, right? Just find your own way, reach out to your community. Maybe your church can help you. The government's not for that. I think they want tax money spent in a very specific way. And that's obviously where the politics are going to diverge between Republicans, Democrats, and independents.
Yeah.
So
So you wanted to talk a little bit about like kind of like how do you introduce someone who's kind of like in that moment in life where
Yeah.
they're like not really plugged in but
Yeah.
want to be plugged in and are hearing all these things that don't sound right, but again, kind of like what I just said, like sometimes
Yeah.
you just don't know what's true and what's not. So what are some
There's easy ways to find your way in. If you have a special interest that you've just been like, I really care about this, I want things to change. What are the ways to do it? You can kind of go that route. Sammy Sage and Emily Amick wrote a really great book called Democracy in Retrograde. I actually brought it today because it's great. It actually has a little like civics book in the back that's really short that gives you just the brass tacks of how the government works, ideally at this point, how it works, how it functions. 435 House seats, 100 Senate seats, this is what they're supposed to do in the legislative branch. It's great. Honestly, I studied politics, so none of this stuff was new information for me. But if you don't really remember government class, it was like
which
a
I think
lovely.
most of us don't.
No, yeah, you kind of moved on.
Yeah.
Thought about other things since that class in 10th grade. And so that's another thing I love about that book. But a big portion of the book is figuring out how you want to be engaged and why you should. And they even have this it's kind of like an astrology based test of like how you can be civically engaged. And it sorts you into whether you're a leader, a creator, a giver, or a creator. And I did my test and I think I was more of a connector, I think is one of them. And I fell into the connector range, which makes sense because I tend to connect people on social media with resources and other people. So I found it very energizing as a book. It's a little intimidating to pick it up and think, oh, this is just like a government book. I remember hating that in college. That was not my class I liked. It's so accessible. It's fun to read. And it really gives you an idea of what can I do on a local level? Like, do I know my town council? Do I know who is the congressional representative under the federal government in my district? Do I know anything about them? I'm on the newsletter for mine, so I know everything about my guy. But it kind of pulls you into, here's some basic facts that you should know. Don't be embarrassed that you don't, because you're a busy person. You might be a mom. You have other things going on in your life. And so really it is something that you have to kind of actively push yourself to do. But I think it's rewarding. I think we're all invested in our future.
Yeah.
And the government plays an absolutely massive part of our future, in the good and the bad, right? So I highly, highly recommend that book. It's phenomenal, and I wish more people talked about it. I think it came out over a year ago, so obviously it's been died down. But I highly, highly recommend it. If you can get it from your library,
Yeah.
check it out. It's fantastic.
Okay. Well, I'm definitely going to read it. Because I think that's what you mentioned, something like people sometimes are embarrassed. And so you don't admit, like,
Right.
I'm not knowledgeable enough in this area.
Yeah.
And so you base it on, well, I already voted for this political party. And so you kind of like are married to that. And so whatever information you consume online, that's kind of like what you use
Yeah.
as your defense mechanism in a sense.
Yeah.
But really, how many of us are truly drilling in and really understanding what we voted for,
Right.
And I think even me, like I again, I've been a Democrat my whole life, but sometimes I remember when it was Romney and Obama. I remember hearing Romney and being like, actually, he brings up some good points here.
Right.
but I was so married to my political party and to, I mean, I loved Obama and I think he did a wonderful job, but that I don't think that at that time I would have been able to potentially vote differently.
Yeah.
And I think that I don't think that you necessarily have to go that route, but I think it's being willing to understand and really see what are truly the policies that my candidate is aiming for. And I think a big thing that's happening now is with Project 2025, for example,
Right.
people didn't think it was real.
It's like halfway done.
And it's
They've
basically
done a lot.
play by
Yeah.
play. Everything has
They
happened.
followed it immediately. And they, after the election, said, by the way, we're definitely doing Project 2025.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they have a complete guidebook for it. Yeah, it's wild. And it's so quick and it's hard to react to everything because you're just like, ooh.
Well, you're being bombarded with information all day
Yeah,
long. So
there's-
like news from last week is completely old
Right.
news.
That was a decade ago.
Yeah.
What are you talking about that
Yeah.
for? Yeah. So, and it's 5-6 big news stories that last administration would have taken weeks of time, but
Yeah.
it's ongoing.
Yeah.
And I think there's like a purposefulness to that.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so yeah, the parties honestly used to have overlap. Like some people really would go back and forth between like, oh, I really like this Republican candidate. I feel like they're aligned with what I'm interested in and what I care about, what my values are. I think we've gone really polarized. Like there's the more fringe part of one party has taken over, particularly with the current administration. And then the Democrats is a bigger tent because there are people who formerly thought of themselves as moderate or Republican that don't really feel like they have a home in the current Republican Party. So they're part of, the Democratic Party, and they have a lot of, complaints and like this isn't what we're wanting. And so I think that's a harder tent to manage.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you have really hard left people that are, the polar opposite of the moderates. And so yeah, it's interesting to see. I think it's important to take a hard look at your party and what they're doing right and what they're doing
and
wrong.
be critical.
Yeah, I think that's okay. I'm
Absolutely.
critical of the Democratic Party. I think most Democrats right now are critical of the Democratic Party, but I think that's okay on either side of the aisle. You should take a hard analysis of what's working, what's not working.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have a lot of money in politics. There's a lot to say about that. I don't know if we can dig into it on this podcast,
we have time.
but yeah, that's huge. And one side is very, very huge donations with PACs, political action committees, that are very closely aligned with these candidates. And so they have almost unlimited money. And then on the Democratic side, these are small donors. These are $50 and all of that. And it's a different machine. It's a lot more rudimentary. It's a lot more grassroots than the other side. Oath.vote is one of my favorite websites. I only donate through that. I absolutely love it. I don't know if you've used it yet.
No.
It's great. And they kind of go by your values. So you can talk about like, these are the things, obviously it's obviously minded toward Democratic candidates. But if you're like, I really care about reproductive rights, I want to focus on that, they will show you how to spend your money donations through that. They don't take any money off the top.
Okay.
And they do an analysis for certain candidates. And so you can donate to races that have an absolutely huge impact. And they have impact scores. And then they'll tell you this person's only raised 10% of their goal. So you can actually give to people that need it. I don't know if you remember back in 2020, there was a big campaign against Mitch McConnell. He's the big majority leader, was majority leader.
But I don't remember the campaign. I mean, I know who he is, but I remember the campaign.
There was a huge campaign with Amy McGrath. She was like an Air Force veteran. She was a good candidate. She raised like $96 million.
This is now ringing a bell, vaguely.
Yes, and she lost by 20 points.
Wow.
That's not a race you should have contributed to.
Yeah.
There were other people who could have made it that didn't because Amy McGrath took $96 million and she was a phenomenal woman, and I don't want to like downplay her candidacy because I'm sure she had great ideas. But that was not a race that was competitive in the way that there are so many other phenomenal races that would have made a difference. Your $100, your $20 would have made a difference. We're coming up in 2026 with midterms, so it's already a time to think about donating, because if you donate this early, they can get a phenomenal campaign advisor. They can start planning their town halls and getting in front of the right people. I think a lot of people donate like just say it's November 3rd, 2026 is when the next midterms is. If you donate on, September 1st, a lot of the campaigns already happened.
Right.
And so
they're ready to hit the road.
Yeah. And it's like
hitting the road.
maybe it'll go to ads or something. I mean, there's not a lot that it can go towards, but if you donate early to these candidates that you really believe in, it can make a huge difference.
Yeah.
And in those oath donations, there's a lot of success stories. So if you're one of those people that's like, I would love to donate, I don't know where to start, and I don't want them to like text me for the rest of my life every Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Oath does not share data. It does
Okay,
not
good.
give it to other campaigns like other places do. You don't end up on lists. And so Brian Derrick is the one that started a few years ago. He has done an amazing job, and he's got a big fight ahead of him, because if you, say for instance, we're not in favor of what the administration's doing right now, the midterms are a huge chance to flip the House. And then that obviously is going to have a profound effect on how the laws are shaped,
Yeah.
what actually gets through. Because there's a lot of continuing resolutions that they want to continue passing. There
Yeah.
was a recent one that passed that is going to make huge changes in the next 4 years. It affects people in my family. It affects everybody. So
Yeah.
I think the midterms are something to think about already, even though it's only 2025.
Yeah, I think what I've heard a lot about midterms is people are so turned off by
Yeah.
how, the past, I wouldn't just say this election, but maybe
Yeah.
the past three, or maybe the past 4 elections have gone, especially the last 3.
Yeah.
That people are just like, is my vote really that important?
Yeah.
Or is it going to really make a change? Especially when you're in a state like Texas, where it's
Yeah.
mostly red, and now we're dealing with this like gerrymandering situation where it's
Right.
like, is it going to matter even?
Right.
Which it does. I'm not saying, I just feel like people are
yeah.
just turned off.
I think a disengaged electorate is the dream for a lot of politicians that are currently in power,
Yeah.
that have very unpopular policies that basically none of us are really on board for. I'm not rich enough to be on board with a lot of the things that are happening. I am middle class, so it's not for the workers. It's not for the kids. A lot of the stuff they're doing is more focused on business interests, and that makes sense, right? I think that there's I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I think that that's for the benefit, obviously, of other people. I think that's what they want you to think. Oh, the status quo, can't change it. Don't even bother showing up. Like, maybe just go have fun with your kids. Like, just, that kind of mindset of, don't worry about it. Maybe things will work out. I think they want you disengaged. My big push is you have to stay engaged, even when you're tired, even when you're wore out. And sometimes just witnessing the news and digesting it and processing it, you feel like, I've done enough, but that's not enough, right?
Yeah.
We have to do more. We have to stay involved. And it can be on a very molecular level. Can I tell you a story?
Yeah. Please. Love
So,
stories.
I live in a little town, and they were going to put a road behind, kind of in the woods, like my neighborhood has woods, right? And they were going to build this road so that the trucks could get to like the grocery store like a mile away a little bit faster. And it would have disturbed all this wildlife. There's a really pretty stream with like natural rock formations. Lovely place. We explored it during COVID when my kids were much littler. It was magical. They would have had to completely rip that apart, disrupt natural water sources, kill a bunch of turtles, do all the things. I heard about it because I live in an area where people are like, not in my backyard, none of this. I don't want a road there. And I wrote to place 1, place 2 in the town council and said, this doesn't make any sense. This isn't going to benefit my town. My town, we want to keep it as natural as we can, right? We're putting up houses left and right. Let's leave a little bit of the woods.
Yeah.
This is recognized like woods area. And it was really nice. They wrote back and were like, I completely agree with you. I think this road is stupid. It's pointless. We have a good system right now for traffic. This isn't going to alleviate anything. It kind of feels like a road to nowhere.
Yeah.
And so it ended up not happening. And it was just a small thing that I did, but it made me more interested in my town,
Of
how my
course.
town works. It pulls you in. And I look at my town and I'm like, politically, I'm not aligned with anyone in leadership. And so it is a struggle for me because I'm just like, well, I'm not really represented here. But we have similar thoughts on a lot of things. And
I think that that's the key to understand, is that sometimes when you strip away like the actual title or like the party that you're affiliated with and you start looking at the things that really matter to you, you're more aligned with people than you think.
Yeah.
And that is just an example of all you had to do was send a note or send an email and be like, hey, this doesn't make sense. Can we rethink this? And you made the change, or you at least started
another
it.
Voice. Like, I'm sure I was one of many that said, why are you doing this? I don't want to elect you again if this kind of thing is going to happen. it's important to stay like that. And that's on a hyper local level.
Yeah.
I made a promise to myself after 2016, like granted, I vote in a lot of elections, but I said, I'm not going to miss another election, even the municipal ones that feel like it's like you're voting on 2 bonds and like one unopposed candidate or something that feels very inconsequential.
Mm-hmm.
I go to every single, like I vote in every single election, and there's multiple, right? I think that's kind of a valid criticism of the US is we have a lot of elections.
We do.
You think we have one every 4 years. No.
There's a lot.
We have local, we have county elections, county-based issues. We have state, based, things on the ballot. And sometimes it's really hard for people to find their ballot, like what's actually on it.
Well, yeah, I mean, when I voted for the presidential election, there were a lot of things on the ballot that I didn't know what they were
Are
talking
you
about.
in Dallas or are you
I'm in Fort Worth.
Okay.
I was in Dallas, but now I'm in Fort Worth.
Okay.
But there were a lot of things that I just didn't understand. Like
Yeah.
the language was like, what?
You have to research your ballot.
I know. And it's like, there's people like me that sometimes I would leave some things blank because I'm like, I really don't know what this means.
Yeah.
And I don't know if me voting for what sounds could be something that I'm
Right.
for,
And sometimes
could be
they-
complete
Sometimes
opposite.
the phrasing is confusing,
Yeah.
right? And it shouldn't be.
It-
It should be very straightforward. And
It should
isn't.
be in a ballot. It should be
Yeah.
because there's people voting that, can probably barely read, and
Right.
so how can we make it also accessible to them and
Yeah.
digestible?
It's one of those massive things that I want to fix, and I don't have a ton of control over. But I will tell you, your county should have a sample ballot. And the only thing that's going to be missing from that sample ballot is the hyperlocal town things. Like, I don't know if you're technically like Fort Worth or if you're Alito or, whatever. There's all these towns that are going to have their own ordinances and things for you to vote on. And so those typically won't show up on the county one.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, that's going to show everything. It's going to show if you're voting in one of the main elections, the presidential candidate, state judges you vote on, attorney general, so many different roles.
Yeah.
And so I recommend doing your homework as best you can. For me, I don't have to do a ton of research.
You understand it.
Because I kind of understand and I recognize the names. I went to law school with some of these judges that I vote for up in my county. So I know these people. Like I remember how smart they were. And so I do about 20 minutes of research, really deciding, okay, does this person seem good? Sometimes I'll watch like the really tiny podcasts that they go on. I think there was someone affiliated with my school board and she was good. And I watched her opponent who wasn't very good. And that was kind of like, I'm really glad I'm voting for this individual because she really knows what she's talking about. She's going to be smart about money. It was a CPA adjacent kind of role in the government. And it's not that hard to do. You just have to make yourself do it.
Yeah.
Making
Just
yourself
take a little
get up
time.
and vote is also a big thing. I always try to do it at like, you can vote on Saturday mornings. Early voting is a period of sometimes 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I always early vote. I try not to vote on the day of the election because obviously like it's like, oh, you need to go to the other place. That's your main voting place. When you vote early, it's like there's a few locations you can stop in at.
Yeah, that's right.
And they're very sweet there when you go in. It's such an easy process. I take my husband with me. He tells me, like, what's the cheat sheet? What do I need to know? Because he's less engaged. Like, he wants to be as engaged, but he's, got his own stressors and things that he's going through.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of the translator for him. I don't stand over him.
I think that we just have a responsibility to have an understanding about what we're
Yes.
voting for. I think at the base level, that's what we
Yeah.
should have. Like, we don't have to be, I think, engaged 24/7 and talking about
Yes.
politics all the time and like reading about politics every day, but at least understand truly
Just
what
do
you're
a
voting. And I don't
check-in.
think
Yeah.
any of us.
Maybe if you can't do a weekly check-in on what's going on.
Yeah.
Do a monthly check-in at least. There's websites also to tell you about these individuals on your ballot sheet. There's Ballotpedia. There's State of Texas Secretary of State's website has a whole voting section, and it has nothing to do with the rest of the Secretary of State business. But you can check your voter registration, make sure you're still good, make sure nothing's changed, and you can also get more information about your ballot and everything else. And so I try to look up these candidates on a few different websites. Sometimes if they don't submit information, you just don't know that much about them. So I have to go to their own website and then look into their background, what they're really hoping to do, all of that. So it's fairly fast for me to parse, but I know it's a muscle. You've got to work on it.
Yeah. Well, that book is a good start. So
It's
you brought
so
another
good.
one.
I brought it. And then as far as the cure for feeling isolation and feeling just kind of a sense of like doom and hopelessness. I think that a lot of it is, it causes us to isolate or kind of feel like just keep it all bottled up. I think we have a strong and inherent sense of like need for belonging, and we have an interdependence on other people.
Yeah.
And it helps us work through these issues. And in times of like turmoil or loss of a job or things changing so severely that it really harms you and your family, you have to connect to people in your community, in your friend group, in your family. And so, yeah, the other book that I really loved was How We Show Up. It's Reclaiming Family, Friendship, and Community by a futurist named Mia Birdsong.
Okay.
I read this for my book club and really loved it. It's a set of stories. It's not a tutorial. It's not going to teach you to show up. It's going to give you a lot of really good examples, and it really talks about how us building resilience through difficult times is not something we do by ourselves. It's not like, oh, I've just been working out every morning and I'm doing so much better handling this all completely alone. It's we have these like friendships, we have these support groups, we have mentors that really help us along, and we have to continue and keep those friendships. And like are you seeing your friend groups enough? Like I wanted to ask you that when we got here, like
Yeah.
are you seeing your friends? Like I'm seeing them, but I feel like I need to see them more.
I agree. I feel like, I mean, obviously motherhood changes things. But we do make an effort to at least schedule. So for example, I just got a reminder this morning that we
Yeah.
have a girls' day next
Yes,
Friday.
nice.
And I completely forgot about it, which is perfect because that weekend we go away with my partner's family to Marble Falls, which is going to be fun. But, being with family sometimes can be a little stressful.
Right.
So it'll be nice to have that little break before I go. So all this to say is I would like to see them more and just have like those, it's not just see them for a quick lunch, it's really spending that quality time. I do agree. And I think that this also applies to motherhood.
Yeah.
When you have a baby, it can feel so isolating. Pregnancy and postpartum can feel very isolating, regardless if you've had people in your life that have already experienced it or already mothers,
Yeah.
because each experience is so different. In my particular case, I moved here and I don't have family here,
Yeah, same,
And so
same.
I had my partner's family, which are wonderful and they've been so helpful, but it makes it harder to like, I at that time, I didn't feel comfortable calling like my mother-in-law and being like, hey, I want to talk about this with you. Like, what is
Yeah.
it? Is this normal? Or this is
I'm
like,
having a hard time.
I'm having a hard time. And
Yeah.
even after, I didn't really experience postpartum depression. And
Yeah.
this is me auto-diagnosing myself, but I just know that that's what it was
Yeah.
until 6 months later. And it wasn't until I was so thankful that I started Hello Mama, because at that point I had already interviewed a few doctors where we talked about that. And I was like, oh, this is what they were talking about. Oh, so I'm not, okay, now I know that I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
But still, it takes a village to get through those moments. It takes having a really solid support system. And for me, it was kind of hard to find that during
Yeah.
that time.
Yeah.
Not because my partner didn't want to be there, but I was also learning how to be in a partnership. And I didn't know, I was embarrassed by it. I was ashamed to be like, I'm having these weird thoughts.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how he was going to take it. He was also learning how to be a dad and, all this
Yeah.
stuff. So anyway, I think that this is important to talk about, especially during a time of so much change that we're going through.
Yeah.
And things are going to continue to change, and you're getting thrown all this information all day long, that you can feel isolated because you're like, wait, you're trying to maybe disengage a little because it's too much.
Yeah.
But it's also important to make sure that you have those spaces where you can kind of like dump and be like,
Yeah.
is this normal? Is this
Yes.
okay?
So I've been reading this Stacey Abrams book. I really love Stacey Abrams, by the way. And she talks about how like silence is dangerous and corrosive, because if you can't name what you're going through, what your issues are, there's no real way to get around them. And that's on a lot of levels, right? That's on big and small levels. And so as a mother, things that you're really struggling with, or like just, issues that you've gone through physically, emotionally, all of those, financially, all of the things,
Yeah.
because motherhood is not getting cheaper.
No.
I feel happy that I paid the daycare amounts that I was crying paying back in the day, because they've only gone up. Those costs, those things that
insane.
you want the best for your child, but you're also struggling and trying to figure out how you're going to make it all work.
Mhm.
I think it's so important to look at your network of people around you, and it doesn't just have to be family, right? You can have these friendships and people in your life that support you and you support them.
Yeah.
You're going to give to them as much as they're going to give to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a really important way to frame it. And she talks a little bit about how like there's this primacy of the kind of the marriage relationship, the significant other partnership relationship, as this is the relationship you have and don't worry about the rest of it. And it's like, well, no, there's these friendships that are absolutely vital that, you know, obviously your friendship isn't going to dominate everything. You've got other things going on in your life, but you have that relationship and that communication and that outlet for certain purposes that maybe your spouse or your boyfriend or fiance, whoever, doesn't, isn't able to provide.
Yeah.
Maybe they're not so good at talking about certain things. And maybe they don't know what it's like to, have cramping in their body as they're trying to breastfeed an infant. Maybe they're not getting that fully.
Yeah, totally. It's funny that you mentioned that because I talked about this in one of the podcasts that I recorded earlier. We haven't released it yet, but there's one specific topic that we touch on, which is friendships and friendship breakups. And how
worst.
They're way worse, I think, than any other, I think.
I haven't had so many of those, but the ones I have, I still think about.
Me too. I haven't had that many. I've had in the past year, ever since I got pregnant, I think I lost what I thought was a really valuable friendship with two people. And I still think about it.
It's a heartbreak.
It's a heart. Yeah, because I think what you're saying here is like with friends, you talk about and experience things that you probably wouldn't with your partner or with your family. They know everything and they've seen you at your worst and at your best and they've picked you up from the floor and they've celebrated with you your wins. And so I think that not saying that your partner wouldn't do that, but it's just a different level, I say, intimacy that you experience with your friends.
Like sometimes I push intimacy on my husband that he's like, maybe I'm good.
Yeah, I don't want to hear about this.
Maybe this is not something we have to talk about in depth.
Yes, exactly. And you can do that with your girlfriends. Yeah. And when you lose those friendships, it's like, oh shoot, I lost a complete part of me.
Yes,
because you're going to keep that forever.
Gone.
Yeah.
No, it's like a little like death almost. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I've only had maybe like one true friendship breakup like in my entire adulthood, which how lucky am I, right?
Yeah,
to have.
totally.
I've had a friend group. They're my group chat for decades. Mm-hmm. I think like maybe like back through like 2011 or something. So like forever to me, right?
Yeah.
But I still, it's like a loose end. And my mom, who's in her 70s, had kind of a friend breakup and she still talks about it and she still mourns it and she'll talk about it. And I know my sisters are kind of like, wow, she's taking this real rough. Like they've stopped being friends like a while ago. And I'm like, that was her person. That was her best friend.
Exactly. Because your friends become like your best friends or I don't have siblings, but they became like my friends are basically my siblings. Right. And so
Only child is fascinating to me.
Yeah.
You have to build these like familial friendships. All of my friends that are only children are like, they've got these solid pillars in their lives. I have 3 older sisters. So I look at friendship strongly. I'm like, I have to have my friends, but I also have 3 girlfriends permanently, right?
Yeah, forever.
That remember all the embarrassing things about me. Yeah, like it's so vital, and that heartbreak is a unique one.
Yeah, and I've always valued my friendships because of that, because I was an only child. So I consider myself to be very loyal. I consider myself to be, very supportive of my friends, and like you said, I have pillars of friends. I have like my little group here in Texas that I adore. I have a group in Colombia that I adore that I also still talk to pretty consistently. Yeah. And it's not like these huge friendship groups, but they're so special to me that I would hate to lose them. And it's hard. And even though we've grown up and we've evolved, especially with my friends in Colombia, and our lives have taken different, journeys, but there's still this like connection that is so important because we've been through so much together.
Do you think of yourself as like a forever friend?
Oh, yeah.
Like I haven't talked to you in a year, but if you contacted me, it would not.
Yeah.
I'd be like, yeah.
And pick up right where we left off.
Nothing has, changed between us. Like, I love that. I'm that person that you stay friends with.
Yeah, same.
I'm like, put that on my profile. I'm the person you stay friends with.
Yeah.
Because I get it. And I'm never going to take offense to, I'm sorry I haven't called you. It's been like 4 months. Mm-hmm. Everything's been, crazy at work. Like I'm
a voice note person. So if I can't pick up the phone and call you, I'm going to send you a 5-minute at least
That's
5-minute voice note.
hilarious.
Yeah.
I have not been brave enough. A lot of people do it with me, and I'm like, okay. I've not been brave enough to inflict my voice on people. I think generationally,
Some people don't like it, so I know who not to
I
send
think
a
I've
voice note
missed
to.
it. I think I've missed it. I'm like bordering on Gen X, but I'm an elder millennial. And I feel like the younger you are, the more you're like, yeah, voice note.
Yeah.
100%. So I think that's why I don't do it as much, but I like it. I kind of miss Marco Polo. I let my account lapse.
Oh, I forgot about that app.
Marco Polo was
Yeah.
fun.
It
We used
was
that during
fun.
COVID. That
Yeah,
was fun.
it was.
It was like little stories just for your friends.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, I'm really making an effort this year in particular because everything feels a little heavier, a little bit harder. Making more plans, really trying to get more face-to-face time with my friends. I have wonderful friends that I feel like I spent my whole childhood not having
Mhm.
the kind of friends I wanted. And so as an adult, having them feels like the biggest blessing
Totally.
ever. I'm eternally grateful to my friends. I will, cherish them until the day I die.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're forever people in my life. And
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's why for me, like maybe for you too, if you ever do experience a friendship breakup, it hurts so much because I'm like, I was willing to be your friend forever. Like, I know that I'm not perfect and we probably could have our differences, but
Yes.
I was still here. I was still here for you, and I
Yes.
still want
I
to.
was broken up with. I didn't do the breaking up.
I was kind of broken up with too.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. I think it was it ended up being on both sides, but it felt, at least
Yeah.
the start of it felt like I was being broken up with.
I don't take rejection well. I married my high school sweetheart. So that's fine.
We need
my
to do a
problem.
whole other podcast about
Yes.
dating and marrying your high school sweetheart and
I
how you have. I'm
know.
sure you've changed a ton from then
Yes.
till now.
Do you want to hear my favorite rule? I'll just tell you right
Yeah.
now. So when you've been with someone for decades
Mm-hmm.
and you know every horrifying detail of them entirely, their childhood, everything about them,
Yeah.
and you've had fights and issues, and maybe they've messed up, maybe you've messed up, you could use things against them from when you were like 25. And so we don't do that. We have a statute of limitations. So if we have a mess up, like, oh, I was late on paying this bill, I messed a few things up, just things like that where you're like, come on, guy, or whatever. That's not a good example, but we don't talk about it after 3 months.
Oh, okay. I like that.
So if you just have this big, like, he got in a car accident, he wasn't paying attention, whatever, you can't razz this person for the rest of your life about them getting in that car accident.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I'm going to razz you for 3 months, give you a little bit of crap. And then
Move on.
we're moving on from it. And the only things we really touch on are just like life events or whatever. We're allowed to talk about certain things, but it's been so healing.
I think that's actually a pretty reasonable rule because
Yeah.
sometimes when you go through challenges in your relationship, it's not like I can't get over it the next day.
Yeah.
My partner is the kind of guy, he's like, okay, can we just talk about this? I don't want to fight with you anymore.
Yeah.
Let's move on. And he will do it within like 10 minutes
Yeah.
or 24 hours. I'm more like, I want
You're
to
a
be angry
processor.
for the next
You're
month.
processing your
you know?
feelings.
Yeah. So I
And
think
some
that
people do it fast and some people do it very slow.
I take a very long time, and I
Yeah.
will say probably longer than I should, and that's why I go to therapy. But I do think that sometimes you need to give things some room and space, and then bring it up again within the 30 days. Be like, hey, remember this thing that
Like,
happened a
can we-
month ago? Can
yeah.
we like revisit that?
We've cooled off.
Right.
Can we talk about how like that affected me?
Yeah.
That kind of triggered something from my childhood. And like, can we talk about it some more and how like that, if it happens again, that's going to be so hard to
Yeah.
like for me to get through.
Yes, I
Like,
think that's so important.
It's a sensitive approach. Everyone gets very defensive, right? I married a defensive person who married a lawyer, right? So
Yeah.
I kind of expect his defensive arguments, and he expects me to go hard line on I'm presenting my case. So, I mean, we know how it works. We can usually shortcut disagreements.
Yeah.
And sometimes he's like, you're just looking for a little fight. Like, he's like,
and sometimes we do.
he's like, you're just starting something. And
Yeah.
he'll just smile at me, and I'm like, yeah, I think I am. I think it's just, I'm very moody. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I've just gotten very grouchy today.
And I want to let it out some, and you're my punching
and I'm
bag
sorry,
today.
you're my outlet because my therapy is until next week.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's fun being in my 40s. I'll tell you.
No, but it's funny that you mentioned that rule because I was just talking about this with my therapist yesterday that, we went through something. Look, she's probably going to listen to this, but it's no offense. My mom lived with us for 2 months recently.
Yeah.
She just moved from Florida, and
That's an adjustment.
it is a
That's
huge
house guest.
adjustment.
Yeah.
And I don't think that either of us really realized how much tension that created until after she was gone.
Yeah.
And I want to make very clear, it had nothing to do with my mom in particular. It's not, Tanner adores my mom. I love my mom, obviously. She was a huge help with our baby. It's nothing about that person. It could have been anybody, any house guest, a friend, a cousin, a coworker, whatever. But 2 months is a very long time. And I remember having a conversation with Tanner. I was like, have you ever been with an in-law for more than, an extended period of time? He's like, I don't think I ever have.
Yeah.
Maybe for a night if we were away, but maybe. So then going from that to having your mother-in-law live with you for 2 months in your home. And we live in a pretty spacious home, but it doesn't matter. It just, it limits.
You also have a witness to every conversation you're trying to work through with your
Yes, and that
with
was
your
the other
person.
thing that I said. I said we can't work through conflict as we probably normally would because we have someone that could pop up
You've
at
got
any
a third
point.
party.
Yeah, and it's my mom, so it's like
Yes.
if she heard, she could be biased one way.
Yeah.
And so, very frankly and very candidly, we had a pretty difficult fight at the end of her stay. And I think it was probably the week after she left.
You and
so
your
it was,
person?
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's taken me some time to get over it. And, and he made the reflection actually last week. He was like, I feel so much lighter and less stressed and like my mood is better lately. The stressors are still there. There's some stuff going on that we're a little stressed about, but obviously his attitude has changed.
Yeah.
And now I definitely feel like he's back to being like his chill, normal self. And so am I. And it's crazy how, having her there like really changed things. And the fact that he was able to reflect on that and say it was like, oh, okay.
House guests are like leftovers. 3 is max, right? And that's pushing it.
Yeah.
So, no, my sister came to visit and she recently said that because she stayed for a really short amount of time. And it was mainly just to be with my kids.
Yeah.
To do fun aunt stuff, which is what she did. It was amazing. We had such a good time. And so, that's pressure. That's pressure on your relationship. We do pretty well when my mom, we take her on trips with us. I freaking love it. I love the support.
Yeah.
She keeps
I think
nice
a
kitchen.
trip could be different because you're not in your own space.
Yes.
It's like it's a vacation. So, and you have that extra hand.
The only stress is you want to be conscientious of her. She needs to get ready. You want it. My mom I'm the youngest in my family. My sisters are Gen X. My mom is older. So I grew up with a lot of people who had much younger parents. So I'm very mindful of her. She's older, right? She's, I just always want to make sure she's comfortable, that, we do everything with her comfort level in mind. But no, I love vacationing with her, and we get an Airbnb and she just helps me out.
Yeah.
We do things together and we kind of go off and do our thing and shop. And then my husband takes the boys and they go have their fun time. So it's kind of the best.
Yeah.
I kind of love it.
We haven't done a trip yet. We have our first trip with her, and not this coming weekend, but the following, Labor Day weekend. And we're obviously going with Tanner's family too. So we're going to have 2 grandmas there, and I'm sure it'll be fine. We got a 2-bedroom suite at this, in Marble Falls somewhere in some resort. So I'm looking forward to that. I think it'll be fun. It'll be different, but I can understand being around family sometimes. Even when I go to Colombia and I'm with my family for 10 days, we're Hispanic. We like to be together all the time in groups of 20.
So you're just close.
Yeah, we are very close. But because I've been away from it for so long, even when I go back, the first 3 days, great, so much fun. And then after the 3rd day, I'm like, okay, I need a break. I need to go back to being by myself. Yeah, please, leave me alone. We need a moment. And Tanner is very good when he goes to Colombia to being I can't do another 6-hour lunch. You guys do your thing. I'm gonna go for a walk or go back to the hotel or whatever.
Though.
Yeah. So I'm glad that he is able to say that, and my family appreciates that and respects that. They're like, yeah.
Is he just from he's from a completely different background?
He's from Fort Worth.
Okay.
And
Fort Worth boy, got it.
Fort Worth boy, born in Michigan, but basically raised here in Fort Worth. And his family is too. So, and they're very close as well, which I'm really thankful for, because it kind of feels very similar to my life, but they're not as close. They don't have 6-hour lunches. We will sit around a table for 6 hours.
No, that sounds amazing.
Drink coffee and drink some
great.
wine and just talk.
Yeah.
And we're a lot of people, lots of opinions, mainly women. So it's a lot.
That sounds amazing.
I mean, I love it, and it's a lot of fun. Again, after 3 days, you kind of do want your space.
Yeah.
But I can understand, for someone like him, he's like, you guys are just too much.
He's okay.
Yeah, I've had enough. I'm going to go have a drink at the bar by myself. I'll see you later. Yeah, he loves it. He embraces my Latin culture. He's learning Spanish. He actually that was the point of connection that we had when we met online. was that he had been to Colombia on his own and he loved it. And so I saw that on his profile. I'm like, oh, swipe.
Nice.
And I was like, I'm
Yeah.
Colombian. Yeah. So I appreciate that he really does love where I come from, but I also appreciate that he knows his boundaries.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a lot of fun. Is there anything else that you want to touch on that we probably didn't touch on?
I guess just don't be afraid to find ways to show up. That's the hardest part, right? I'm still working on it. I'm not an expert at this. I felt like a fraud a little bit coming on here because I doom
No.
scroll and I have like all these like bits of advice for like don't doom scroll, but I'm like, oh, I'm doing it 100%. Don't neglect your hobbies as we kind of go through times of like, intense changes, obviously, with like the way your government works, the way our jobs work, the economy. I don't know what's going to happen with that. So that stresses people out, right?
Yeah.
I think sometimes you can neglect the things that make you feel human, the things that you really enjoy, the exercise that you do, the ways you move your body, the hobbies that you've kind of become invested in. I'm a huge reader. I like to write too. So that's kind of my thing. That's like my outlet for when I feel stressed. I think that's a big reminder, and it's a way to pull away from the doom scroll and feeling like a sense of hopelessness or, oh, I don't have the background to really understand what's happening. But yeah, keep the conversation going with people that you trust around you. Reach out to people. That's kind of how I do it as far as like my civic engagement. I reach out to people that I know that are not paying attention to the news. And I'm like, there's a local election in your state. Here's some information about it. I'm like, here's Ballotpedia. I want you to look into this. Will you look into it for me? That actually made a huge difference in the past few elections, is literally reaching out to people and being like, I have a friend in New York who actually lives in Andrew Cuomo's district.
Oh.
And I was like, are you doing ranked choice voting? Have you done it yet? And she was like, oh, I haven't really thought about it. I think I know who I want. And she told me, and I was like, hey, why don't you look into some of these other individuals and learn how to do ranked choice voting? Because it's not one vote, right? You check multiple people. And so number one, number two, and all of that. And so she researched it, came back to me, and was like, wow, I am definitely not voting for the person I was going to vote for.
Yeah.
I've got a whole different outlook on this. Wow. And it ended up influencing how she went about it. I mean, I didn't tell her who to vote for.
Right. Just kind of like do your research.
I gave her resources like, this is how to understand a very new way of voting in this primary. There's always going to need to be unique obstacles to voting, unfortunately. Find ways through it. Your county has a lot of resources. Always check to make sure you're registered. Things like that, I think, are calming for me, as someone who's extremely online and cares so much about politics. But reach out. I'm always like giving people advice, like, hey, do you want more information on this? This is a great resource for you. I'm not going to tell you how to vote. I'm not going to tell you, what you should care about. You know what's important to you. You understand your values. In the Democracy in Retrograde book, they even like have a workbook for you to talk about, write down your values so that you can better understand how it fits with
the person that you're
now.
and the person that you're voting for.
Yes, what they care about.
Or the party in general that you're voting for.
I think that we need to shape these politicians.
Yeah.
Like, not the other way
They
around.
work for us.
Yes. It's our taxpayer money that's paying them.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, anyway.
Well, this has been really fun. And I think one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on is when I started Hello Mama, unintentionally, my audience became very heavily Christian based.
Okay.
Lots of Maha and MAGA, unintentionally. And even a couple of the guests that I had leaned a little bit differently than I did. And I realized, okay, this is not necessarily my target audience, but I don't want to steer people away from, because these are topics that affect women no matter what.
Yeah.
Because the first season was very focused on like postpartum and women's health. And now the conversations have changed a little bit more. It's still on women's health. But I also kind of wanted to marry Date and Debate and Hello Mama in a sense, to bring topics that are important, that affect us on a daily basis. And one of them is politics and voting. And for women especially, and I might get a little hate for saying this, but I think that women that are so like evangelical women or that are so extremely religious, they sometimes lose their ability to have a voice, or their voice gets kind of like lost in the mix because it's so heavily influenced by religion. And I think that having conversations like this where it's like we're not telling you what side to lean on.
Right.
It's just about do your research. And like you just said, there's a book that you can find, or even just write it down in your journal if you have one.
Yeah.
What are your values? And then really, truly do your due diligence in researching when you cast your vote, the impact that your vote is going to have, and how does that like match against your values and the things that you want maybe for your kids in the future. So having this conversation, I think, was a fair conversation. It doesn't matter what party you're part of. I think that there was just some really valuable information and insight and a point of view that's very valid. And that I hope whoever listens can really like start thinking about politics in a very different way. And we touched on other things too, like friendships and relationships and how we show up for each other.
Community.
And it's all about that. We need community, not just now, we need it always. We've always needed it, and we can't steer away from really
I think
leaning
we're in
into.
for continued changes, right? And so it's how we weather it and how we come together. And typically you need other people in your life. Like if I lost my job right now, I would have to turn to people in my network. I would talk to my friends, my mentors, people in my life to help me overcome this. This would be a financial,
Right.
huge burden, right? These things are needed when the climate changes, the climate of the world changes. And so we need each other desperately. We have to keep communicating. It's very easy to self-isolate. And I think that's the hardest part of like living in 2025 is almost a self-imposed isolation.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to make efforts to not do that anymore. And it's a struggle. I'm telling you, it's an ongoing effort.
Totally.
So, that was kind of like the message I wanted to present.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, and I really did enjoy this conversation.
Me
so
too.
You're welcome back anytime. And for those, I don't have like a ton of listeners. It's not like 1,000 people are going to reach out to you, but is it okay to share
My
your
Instagram.
Instagram?
Absolutely. It's A. Montgomery Lawyer, and I have like a little pink little shirt, a little like icon logo. It's not my actual picture, but she looks like me. And
Did Tara Berg make that design for you?
I think her name was Camille.
Okay.
She didn't do a lot of them.
Okay.
I specifically asked her to do it for me. It was years ago.
Yeah.
And I think she used to make stationery and cards. I don't think she does them anymore.
Okay.
Or else I would like share her account because she made beautiful cards. But yeah, I really loved the way she drew. And so
I was asking because the girl that did my logo for my first podcast was Tara Berg, and she was doing, I think she did a few other podcasts, and I think I met her through Dallas Girl Gang or something like that.
I think she did one that looked similar to me.
Yeah.
It was for like an event, and I was one of the panelists.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So that's why I was asking if it was her. I haven't talked to her in years.
It's very similar style, of Tara Berg.
Okay.
But I feel like I know everybody in Dallas, even though I'm not still actively practicing.
Yeah. Dallas is a little big town in a lot of sense.
Yeah, I love it. Like I kind of love that I still have connections to the community, even though I'm not serving small businesses anymore. Yeah. I miss it, honestly. I really miss it.
Yeah, I miss Dallas too. I mean, I love Fort Worth. I've learned to love Fort Worth in the past year and a half.
It's a cool town.
It is really cool.
All of my friends are in Fort Worth, so I go there a lot.
It's grown a ton, and there's a lot to do. So highly recommend it. Yeah, we have found like little pockets of places, and obviously like Tanner being from Fort Worth, he's a little biased, and so he's done a really good job in making me fall in love with Fort Worth.
Good.
So yeah.
Good.
Well, again, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. This was a lot of fun. You're welcome back anytime. And this episode will be out soon. So, all right, thank you.